Podcasting by Pier 34 by Hudson River Park in Lower Manhattan. This is the Brooklyn Baritone Podcast. Good morning, everyone. It's usually morning when I'm recording these podcasts and productions, but whenever you choose to join me, morning, afternoon, nighttime, evening, late at night, it doesn't matter. I appreciate the likes, the looks, the listens, but of course, I would appreciate you hitting that subscribe and notification bell on my YouTube channel, Brooklyn Baritone. Of course, do that with no pressure, though I would like the algorithm to swing in my favor. Here's a crazy thing that I was thinking about that so many people do and practice, and this thing that I'm talking about is what a certain other animal on this planet was accused of doing. I thought about it plenty of times when I was younger, and I thought it was truth. The ostrich was once thought to pop their head inside the dirt or the sand, wherever they are, when there's trouble. See, it's been proven that the ostriches don't do that, but it's been proven that, metaphorically, that people like to pop their head in the sand whenever there's trouble about. Because unfortunately, a lot of people like to ignore what's going on around them, or even ignore the atrocities or injustices happening to their fellow man. Just as long as it doesn't happen to them, it's all good, it's all cool. Now, I came across an article. It was about a very unknown government, U.S. government agency called the Pre-Trial Services Agency. Many people don't know about this. Most people probably don't even know this thing exists. But it's basically responsible for gathering new information for newly arrested defendants to pretty much figure out the way forward for their trial outcome. That's basically what they're doing. That's their purpose. I could probably think that it's by design that this agency, out of so many to carry out this thing I'm about to tell you about, it's done by design because it won't bring a lot of attention. It won't bring a lot of ripples in the lake, if you catch what I'm saying. This pretrial services agency has been charged with accumulating all of the names and information of all federal employees that chose to not take the vaccine and file for a religious exemption. This unknown agency is now undertaking compiling all the names of all federal employees in the United States, all the employees that chose to not take the vaccine, not the people who chose to do the medical exemptions, but the people who specifically chose to file for a religious exemption. There's many things that sound so shady about that, and I guarantee you it is. And I did cover this in past podcasts where this whole mandate thing globally was leading to religious persecution. And I get that a lot of people don't subscribe to who God is, who Elohim is. They don't subscribe to the Bible, even though the Bible did talk about these things. And these things have happened in the past as well. The term Roman candles is not just a fancy name for one of the fireworks that we like to use and shoot at each other on the 4th of July here. The term actually came about with candles or lamps, fire, being lit up on the roadsides or in the streets or in various locations in the Roman Empire. Now, they weren't using fuel, they weren't using paper, they weren't using tinder, they were using people. They were using people, lighting them on fire. And these people were Christians. Because at one point, a very abridged version of what I'm telling you is that many of the Christians were blamed for all the problems that were happening in Rome. Fires were started and many other things going on, and they were the very convenient scapegoats. That's just a short version of it. And even after that, we also have the Age of Enlightenment. Unfortunately, same Rome, they're the ones who kicked it off because the papacy was basically very corrupt and super corrupt. And people were tired of it. So they went after the Catholic Church. And unfortunately, after going after the leaders that were very corrupt and totally misrepresenting Elohim's word, guess who they went for afterwards? They went after the people who were followers of faith. At least they believed they were followers of faith. Unfortunately, the Age of Enlightenment, which was the birthplace of atheism and modern evolution, they basically were birthed out of blood. Yeah, you know, when a human being is born, there's blood there, but then not usually at the sacrifice of other lives. Unfortunately, a lot of people were killed dead, shot, killed, murdered, hung, as a lot of groups were reported to be praying on their knees. So this is what happens when a lot of people decide to say, taste great, less filling. It's us versus them. People basically want to save their own skin. So, the SOS, what a naval vessel usually puts out when they're in some dire need of help and under distress, save our ship, what the SOS stands for. Unfortunately, when you put out your own distress for SOS in the world we're living in now, you may get an SMS in return. SMSs, save my skin. I'm going to save my skin. Later for you, I don't care what you are, who you are, what you've been doing, whatever. Don't bring no trouble around me, and I don't care what happens to you, just as long as it doesn't happen to me. That's the mindset where we are in right now. So we have I just gave you 2 quick instances in history where people have been persecuted religiously, unfortunately and unjustly. So when I have talked with certain people, and seeing what's happening, and then we see what's happened in Australia. And some people said, well, that's over there. That'll never happen over here. Yet and still, we see steps, wide, large steps, to get closer and closer to fulfill this, to come after certain people. And I said it before one of my past podcasts. This will eke out to be a religious persecution. It's not like it's not happening. You check in China, check in Russia, and other places, Christians are being persecuted. That's not newsworthy to people. So unfortunately, the regular Joe Schmo, especially in this country, in America, where we've been so indoctrinated and dulled down by mainstream media and entertainment, we're never going to know these things. And if we do find out, well, you know what? As long as it doesn't interfere with me getting my mocha latte, or as long as it doesn't interfere with me streaming my services, whatever it is that you're watching on your smartphone at home, you really don't care. The thing is, you're laying the foundation for a world for you to be under more oppression, to be subjugated unto very heinous and depraved acts where people will start to normalize these things. These are the foundations you're laying for your children. It's okay to say, well, I'm not a Christian, or I am a Christian, but I complied. Those are the more extreme guys who didn't choose to take this mandate to heart. It's because if you are a Christian, you are charged to follow Elohim's word. You are charged to spread the word. You are charged to live in a certain way. You are charged to not live under fear of man who is finite, man who will pass away. You are charged to uphold the law that the eternal and most powerful Creator has given you. You are charged with being a good steward and spreading the word, not living in fear, not complying with anything that negates or goes against what the Creator has said for you to do. Now, if anyone else who doesn't believe in that, take lessons from history, take lessons of what's going on right now. Yeah, it's, those guys over there, if they probably have something coming to them, they probably deserve it. Guess what? Once they're done with those guys over there, who do you think they're coming for next? Anyways, that's all I have for today. If you want to catch more of my content, check out my website, brooklynbaritone.com. You can even check out my merch if you want to. I'm also on YouTube. Check out more of my content there. You can find me on LinkedIn under Corey Ashley. I am also on Instagram and on Facebook. The audio versions of these podcasts are on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music under podcast, and other various podcast platforms. I air on local Brooklyn cable television 4 times a week, Tuesdays and Thursdays at 12 a.m. and 2 p.m. on Verizon, Optimum, RCN, and Spectrum. Thank you guys for listening. I want you guys to be vigilant. I want you guys to just be aware of what's going on. Don't be an ostrich sapien. Take your head out of the sand and see what's going on. Anyways, all good. Be blessed. We'll hear from you next week.